The Vrek system looked like the edge of the universe. Stars in the distance, dark space in between, and silence that felt heavy. But the silence wouldn't last long. Fleet Admiral Ventar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Vigilance watching his fleet assemble. 200 warships from 30 different species. The greatest military force ever gathered. It looked impressive until you remembered what they were fighting. 4 million swarm bioships. The largest fleet anyone had ever seen. A wall of living metal that would consume everything in its path. And beyond the swarm, 40 star systems full of families who didn't know they were about to die. How long until they arrive? Ventar asked. 72 hours, his tactical officer replied. Not enough time. Never enough time. Ventar had fought in 6 major campaigns. He knew a losing battle when he saw one. This was worse than losing. This was extinction. A new signal appeared on his sensors. 7 ships dropping out of faster-than-light speed. Small ships barely bigger than corvettes. Human ships. This is Captain Day of the Booson's Pride. A voice came through the communications channel. Sorry, we're late. We stopped for supplies. 7 ships, Ventar said slowly. Against 4 million. That's your reinforcement? Quality over quantity, Admiral. Besides, we brought friends. The other 6 human ships broadcast their names. Inchon's Fury, Seoul's Vengeance, Daegu's Hope, Jeju's Storm, Gwangju's Hammer, Olsen's Shield. Each one looked as impossible as Day's ship. Each one radiated confidence that bordered on insanity. What can 7 ships do that 200 cannot? Ventar asked. We can ignore the rules, Day replied. You should watch and take notes. Before Ventar could respond, Bin's voice cut into the channel. We have a plan. It's really stupid, but it might work. All your plans are really stupid, another voice said. That was Captain Wu from the Inchon's Fury. That's why they work. Ventar found himself interested despite his doubts. What's the plan? The swarm operates on a hive mind, Yuna explained. All those ships are connected through biological quantum signals. If we can hack into that network and upload a virus, we can turn the swarm against itself. Hack into a biological quantum network? That's impossible. We get that a lot, Day said. Here's the catch. Someone needs to fly into the heart of the swarm and upload the virus directly to the Queen's cluster. That's where the central node is. That is suicide. Yeah, probably. But we're really good at suicide missions that accidentally succeed. Ventar looked at his own tactical display. The plan was insane. Flying into the swarm center meant going through millions of bioships. Even with the best shields and weapons, no ship could survive that. Unless that ship didn't care about survival. What do you need from us? Ventar asked. Clear us a path. Get as many civilians evacuated as possible. And maybe prepare some medical ships because we're probably going to need them. The waiting was the worst part. 72 hours of watching the swarm approach. Watching that dark wall grow larger on the sensors. Knowing that in 3 days everything would change. The human crews spent the time modifying their ships. Bin shared designs with the other engineers. They installed weapons that shouldn't work. They reinforced hulls with materials that shouldn't hold. They pushed their reactors to levels that made galactic scientists file formal complaints. They're drawing power from the nearby star. A science officer reported to Ventar. They're using something called a stellar tap. It's converting the star's energy directly into their power systems. Is that safe? According to the laws of physics? No, according to the humans? Apparently yes. When the swarm finally arrived, it was worse than anyone imagined. 4 million ships that blocked out the stars. The hive mind's presence felt like pressure against the skull. Wrong, hungry, endless, all ships engage, Ventar ordered. The galactic fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts, particle beams, kinetic rounds. Everything they had. It looked like fireworks against the night sky. Thousands of swarm ships died in the first volley. But thousands more took their place. The swarm didn't slow down. Didn't hesitate. Just kept coming. They're not even slowing down. Ventar's tactical officer said, voice shaking. Prepare to retreat, Ventar ordered. The words tasted like failure in his mouth. Retreat? Day's voice cut through the chaos. We haven't even started yet. The 7 human ships activated their modified engines. Energy readings spiked so high that several galactic sensors simply stopped working. The humans were pulling more power than some small stars produced. All human vessels engage, Day ordered. The Inchon's Fury released an electromagnetic pulse that rippled through space. 10,000 swarm ships went dark, their biological circuits fried. Captain Wu's laughter came through the channel. That's what happens when you weaponize a magnetar. Soul's Vengeance fired plasma beams that burned white-hot. Captain High carved through bioships like they were paper. We made the sun angry, then we pointed it at our enemies. Jeju's storm moved so fast it appeared in 6 places at once. Captain Sora was everywhere, nowhere impossible to track. Quantum physics was having a breakdown trying to explain where she actually was. The Galactic fleet watched in amazement as 7 ships did more damage than 200. Watched as the humans laughed while fighting. Watched as they turned impossible odds into something that might, maybe, perhaps be survivable. They're clearing a path, Ventar realized. They're actually clearing a path to the center. Busan's pride accelerated toward the Queen's cluster. Behind them, the other 6 human ships formed a defensive wall, holding back millions of bioships. It was like trying to hold back an ocean with a paper cup, but they did it anyway. We're taking heavy fire, Ben reported. The ship shook. Metal screamed. Alarms blared from every station. Hull breaches on 8 decks, Nari said calmly, even as she treated Ben's crushed leg. I'm sealing them, but we're running out of superglue. How close? Day asked. 100 meters to the Queen's cluster, Tay reported. Her hands never stopped moving on the controls. Blood ran from her nose from the G-forces, but she kept flying. I need 50 meters to upload, Yuna said. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, preparing the virus. Tay, get us to 10 meters. Sir, that's inside their shields. I know what I said. Tay grinned. Blood on her teeth, death all around them, and she was grinning. This is going to hurt. The Busan's pride crashed through the Queen's defensive barriers. Every alarm in the ship screamed. The hull started tearing apart. But they were close enough, uploading now. Yuna shouted. The virus spread through the swarm's network like fire. 1%. 10%. 30%. The hive minds started fracturing. Swarm ships began attacking each other as the virus corrupted their shared consciousness. 60%, Yuna counted. 80%. The Queen's cluster exploded. Not from weapons. From their own biology turning against them. The central node collapsed, and with it the entire hive mind. 4 million bioships died in 4 minutes and 23 seconds. One moment, a galaxy-ending threat. The next, just debris floating in space. Get us out of here, Tay ordered. Tay pulled the ship through the dying swarm. They limped out, trailing atmosphere and hopes. Behind them, the other human ships followed, equally broken, equally victorious. On the eternal vigilance, Ventar watched the sensors. The swarm was gone, all of it. The greatest threat to galactic civilization. Ended by 7 crazy humans in broken ships. Fleet Admiral, his communications officer said quietly. The humans are requesting medical assistance. They have 47 dead and 200 wounded. The price of victory. Always a price. Send every medical ship we have, Ventar ordered. Those humans just saved 600 billion lives. The least we can do is save theirs. He opened a channel to the Busan's pride. Captain Day, you saved the galaxy. Cool, Day replied. His voice was tired. So tired. Can we go home now? I really miss Korean food. Ventar found himself smiling. Yes, Captain. You can go home. You've earned it. The Galactic Sciences headquarters was the most respected building in the known universe. 3,000 years old, built from crystallized starlight. Home to the greatest minds from 47 species. Today it felt more like a courtroom. Captain Day stood in the center of the chamber, his crew beside him. Above them, the tribunal sat in a half-circle of floating platforms. Scientists from dozens of worlds stared down with expressions ranging from confusion to outright horror. Chief Magistrate Orville cleared his throat. He was old, even for his species, and his voice carried the weight of centuries of knowledge. Captain Day of Earth, do you understand why you are here? Because we saved 40,000 lives? Day asked. Because you violated 127 laws of physics doing so. I didn't know physics had lawyers. A few scientists in the audience gasped. Hana, sitting in the front row as the human liaison, covered her face with her hands. Beside her, Ambassador Talixian just sighed. He had been sighing a lot lately. Orville pulled up a holographic display. Let us begin with your faster-than-light drive. Our analysis shows it operates at speeds that should convert your molecules into pure energy. How are you still alive? Ben raised his hand like a student in class. We reinforced the containment field with a secondary buffer. A buffer made of what? Coffee makers and prayer, mostly. Orville stared at him. Coffee makers. Yeah, they generate heat and steam. We redirected that to cool the quantum flux capacitor. You used kitchen appliances to cool an experimental drive system? Well, when you say it like that, it sounds bad. A scientist in the third row fainted. Two others rushed to help him. Orville waited until the disruption passed, then continued. The tribunal has reviewed your ship's construction. Would you care to explain how you patched hull breaches with what you call space-grade superglue? Ben pulled a tube from his pocket. This stuff is amazing. Bonds anything to anything. We used it on Earth for years. For space travel, for whatever needs gluing. Your entire ship is held together with adhesive designed for household repairs. And some welding and hope. Lots of hope. Another scientist fainted. Orville was beginning to understand why Ambassador Talixian looked so tired. Moving on, Orville said, pulling up new data. Your pilot, Tay, performed maneuvers that should have liquefied your internal organs. The readings show you pulled forces of 40 times Earth gravity. How did you survive? Tay stood up looking proud. Training. Human pilots regularly experience 9 Gs during atmospheric flight. 40 is only 4 times that. 4 times a force that already pushes biological limits. Yeah, but we're built different. Earth gravity is really strong compared to most planets. We evolved to handle it. A biologist in the tribunal spoke up. I've studied your planet's data. Your species evolved as persistence hunters on a death world. You literally evolved to just keep going when everything says stop. That sounds about right, Nari said from her seat. We're stubborn. It's genetic. Orville moved to the next item on his list. He was starting to dread what came next. The weapon you call Project Thunder. You created a stable singularity. A black hole small enough to control but powerful enough to destroy thousands of ships. This technology was considered impossible. Well, it's possible now, Ben said cheerfully. We proved it. You proved it by nearly destroying the fabric of space-time. Nearly only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. What are horseshoes and hand grenades? Human things. Don't worry about it. Orville pulled up an equation on the holographic display. This is the mathematical formula we found in your ship's computer. Can you explain it? Ben looked at the equation. Oh yeah, I wrote that during lunch break. It's the basic principle behind the gravity well generator. These calculations require 3 types of matter that do not exist in nature. Right, so we made them. You made new types of matter? Well, synthesized them in a particle accelerator. Same difference. Every scientist in the room started talking at once. Orville had to activate the sound dampening field to restore order. You're telling me you created new forms of matter in a particle accelerator and used them to build a weapon of mass destruction. We prefer to call it a weapon of mass protection. That's not better. Una decided this was a good time to speak up. If I may, Chief Magistrate, we did save an entire colony. The swarm was going to kill everyone. We stopped that from happening by breaking every safety protocol in existence. Safety protocols don't save lives when everyone's dead, Day said quietly. The room fell silent. We had a choice. Follow the rules and let 40,000 people die, or break the rules and save them. We chose to save them. Orville sat back in his chair, and in doing so you created a tear in space-time. Do you understand what that means? You ripped a hole in reality itself. The universe doesn't forgive that kind of damage. The universe seems fine, Tay pointed out. We closed the tear when we flew through it. You flew through it? How else were we supposed to escape? Another scientist fainted. They were running out of medical personnel. Ambassador Talixian stood up from his seat. Chief Magistrate, if I may speak? Orville nodded, looking relieved to hear from someone sensible. I have known about Earth for many years, Talixian said. We classified it as a quarantine world specifically because we feared what might happen if we contacted them. We were right to be afraid. They are aggressive, reckless, and completely unwilling to accept the word impossible. He paused. They are also brave, loyal, and willing to risk everything to save strangers. Yes, they broke our laws. Yes, they terrified our scientists. But they also saved 40,000 lives when everyone else had given up hope. Hana stood up next. The humans responded to our distress call in 17 minutes. They crossed 47 light years in 22 hours. They flew into certain death to buy time for an evacuation. They didn't ask for payment. They didn't ask for anything except the chance to help. Is that really what we want to punish? Orville looked at the other tribunal members. They whispered among themselves for several minutes. Finally, he turned back to the humans. You have saved the Kaleth people. For that, the galaxy owes you a debt. However, your methods were dangerous and unprecedented. We must ensure this never happens again unsupervised. So what's the verdict? Day asked. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, with restrictions. Many restrictions. You will be supervised, monitored, and absolutely forbidden from creating any more black holes without permission. What if we only make small ones? Ben asked. No. Medium-sized? No. What about just theoretical discussions of black holes? That's probably fine. Great. So I can talk about the mini singularity generator I designed last week. Wait, you designed another one? Before Ben could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the headquarters. Orville pulled up an emergency display. His face went pale. What is it? Talixian asked. The Vrelka swarm. They've regrouped. They're heading for the galactic core. 40 star systems are in their path. He looked at the estimated casualties. 600 billion lives. The room went silent. 600 billion. The number was too big to comprehend. It was entire civilizations. Hundreds of worlds. Countless cultures, families, dreams. Day looked at his crew. They looked back at him. No words were needed. They had signed up for this the moment they answered that first distress call. Chief Magistrate, Day said, I'm guessing you need someone crazy enough to stop them. Orville wanted to say no. He wanted to tell these reckless humans to go home and never come back. But he couldn't, because sometimes the galaxy needed people who didn't understand the word impossible. The Vrek system, Orville said quietly. That's where we'll make our stand. The Galactic Defense Fleet is gathering there now. When do we leave? Immediately, Day nodded. Then we better get going. Physics isn't going to violate itself. As the humans left the chamber, one scientist turned to another. They're going to get us all killed. Maybe, or they'll save us all again. Which is more likely? With humans? Both, definitely both. The Busan's pride cut through space like a knife through water. Behind them, the Cleth station grew smaller. Ahead, the swarm waited like a dark wall of teeth and hunger. Tay sat at the pilot controls, her hands steady. Entering engagement range in 30 seconds. Ben, is Project Thunder ready? Day asked from the captain's chair. As ready as a weaponized black hole can be. Ben wiped sweat from his forehead. Just so everyone knows, there's a 17% chance this kills us immediately. What about the other 83%? Nari asked. She was strapped into the medical station, supplies secured around her. 40% it works perfectly. 43% it works, but also causes some minor problems. Define minor. Like maybe creating a small tear in space-time. Nothing major. Yuna looked up from her computer station. I've hacked into the swarm's communication network. It's all biological signals, but I think I can map it. If we disrupt the right nodes, we might confuse them. Dee nodded. Do it. Every advantage helps. The first swarm ships appeared on sensors. Then more than thousands. They moved as one, like a school of fish made from nightmares. Each ship was grown, not built. Living metal and biological circuits. They had no pilots, no crews. Just the hive mind pulling all the strings. Engaging now, Tay said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were bright with excitement. The first volley of weapons fire lit up the space between them. Swarm ships shot bolts of compressed biological matter. The Busan's pride rolled, twisted, and dove through the incoming fire. Tay's hands moved across the controls like she was playing music. How are you dodging that? Yuna shouted as another volley missed them by meters. Reflexes, Tay said. Humans have really good reflexes. Also, I might be a little crazy. A hit rocked the ship. Alarms screamed. Nari checked the damage reports. Hull breach on deck 3. Sealing it now. With what? Ben asked. The space-grade superglue you're so proud of. That's my girl. Another hit. Then another. The ship shook like it was coming apart. Because it was, slowly, piece by piece. But Tay kept flying. Ben kept the engines running, and Yuna kept mapping the swarm signals. We're close enough. Ben shouted. Activating Project Thunder now. He hit the button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality bent. On the Cleth station, every sensor went crazy at once. Calamir watched his instruments with growing horror. What are they doing? What are they doing? The Busan's pride had created a gravity well where no gravity well should exist. A tiny, stable black hole that pulled with incredible force. Swarm ships nearby began moving toward it, unable to resist the pull. They weaponized a singularity, Calamir whispered. They created a black hole small enough to control but strong enough to use. That's impossible. Tell them that, Erland said, watching the display. Swarm ships collided as they were pulled together. The hive mind tried to compensate, but physics didn't care about strategy. Hundreds of bioships crashed into each other, tangling into a mass of broken metal and dying tissue. Inside the Busan's Pride, Bin whooped with joy. It's working. It's actually working. Don't celebrate yet, Day warned. Tay, get us out of the gravity field before we get pulled in too. On it. Tay's hands flew across the controls. The ship spun, reversed direction, and shot away from the singularity. The maneuver pulled 40 Gs. Everyone's vision went dark at the edges. Nari calmly wiped blood from her nose. Tay, that was 50% over human safety limits. Safety limits are for people who want to live forever. Another alarm blared. Captain? Bin's voice went up an octave. We have a really big problem. On the sensors, something massive appeared. A swarm dreadnought, 4 kilometers long, grown over centuries by consuming entire planets. It made the other bioships look like children's toys. Well, Day said quietly, that's not good. The dreadnought didn't bother with small weapons. It fired a beam of concentrated biological energy, the kind that could burn through a planet's crust. The Busan's Pride rolled hard, and the beam missed by 100 meters. Space itself seemed to scream where the beam passed. We can't fight that, Yuna said. No, Day agreed. We can't. Bin, can we overload Project Thunder? You mean make the black hole bigger? Much bigger? That would be incredibly stupid. But would it work? Bin thought for a moment. Maybe, probably. There's a 60% chance we die, a 30% chance it works, and a 10% chance we create a tear in reality. What happens if we tear reality? No idea, no one's ever done it before. Day looked at his crew. Tay was grinning like a maniac. Nari had prepared emergency medical supplies. Yuna had already started calculating trajectories. They were all insane, every single one of them. And Day had never been prouder. Do it, he ordered. Overload Project Thunder. Bin's fingers raced across his console, reversing the polarity, increasing the power feed, removing all safety limits because apparently we don't need those. How long until it reaches critical? 30 seconds. Maybe 40 if the universe is feeling generous. The dreadnought fired again. This time the beam clipped their aft section. Metal screamed. Fire erupted in the cargo bay. Nari ran toward the damage with a fire suppressor. 20 seconds to critical, Bin counted down. The gravity well began to grow, and grow, and grow. It pulled harder, reaching further. Swarm ships by the thousands started moving toward it. Even the dreadnought felt the pull. 10 seconds. The dreadnought realized the danger. It tried to turn to escape. But it was too massive, too slow. 5 seconds, 4, 3. Tay, as soon as it blows, get us out of here, Day ordered. 2, 1. Project Thunder exploded. Not a normal explosion. This was physics having a breakdown. The black hole destabilized, and for a moment space-time itself forgot how to exist. A crack appeared in reality. Not a wormhole, an actual tear in the universe. The dreadnought and half the swarm fleet were pulled into the tear. Ships vanished into the crack like water down a drain. The hive mind screamed. It was a sound no one should be able to hear in space, but everyone did. 1,000 dying voices crying out at once. Tay now, Day shouted. Going through the tear. Tay yelled back. Through? Are you insane? Little bit. The Busan's Pride shot toward the closing tear in reality. Behind them, the swarm tried to follow, but they were too slow. The ship entered the crack and everything went white. On the Cleth station, every sensor went dead. Erland stared at the blank screens. What happened? Where are they? They flew through a space-time rift, Kalmir said. His voice was flat with shock. They should be dead. They should be scattered across multiple dimensions. They should be... The sensors came back online. 3 light years away, a single ship appeared. Burning, damaged, but intact. A message came through. This is Captain Day. We're alive. How's the evacuation going? Erland started laughing. He couldn't help it. It was either laugh or scream. You flew through a tear in reality? Yeah, that was new. Tay's never doing that again. In the background, they heard Tay's voice. That was amazing. Let's do it twice. The swarm was broken. Without the dreadnought and the queens that controlled it, the remaining ships fought each other. The hive mind had fractured into confusion and panic. Erland looked at his evacuation progress. 98% complete. 40,000 lives saved because 5 humans decided impossible wasn't a real limit. Thank you, Erland said quietly. You saved us all. That's what we do, Day replied. Now if someone could send a rescue ship, that would be great. Our engines are held together by hope and good intentions at this point. Kalmir was still typing on his tablet, filing physics violation reports. He had stopped counting after number 100. The universe had learned an important lesson today. Never underestimate a species from a death world. The alarm screamed through Station Harmony 7, making everyone jump from their seats. Hana's hands flew across her console, her eyes wide as she read the incoming message. She was young for an analyst, barely 2 cycles into her position at the Galactic Council's monitoring station. Her supervisor always said she worried too much. Today she wished he was right. Ambassador Talixian, she called out, her voice cutting through the noise. We have a distress signal from the Kaleth colony in Sector 9. The ambassador moved to her station, his long fingers tapping at the screen. Talixian had served the council for 30 years, and Hana had never seen him look worried. Until now. His face went pale as he read the data. The Vrelka swarm, he whispered. They found the Kaleth outpost. The room fell silent. Everyone knew about the swarm. They were the nightmare that parents used to scare children across 100 worlds. A hive mind that ate everything in its path. Planets, ships, stations. Nothing stopped them. Nothing slowed them down. How long do they have? Someone asked. Hana checked her numbers twice, hoping she was wrong. 6 days. Maybe 7 if their shields hold. And how long until our fleet arrives? 3 months. The silence grew heavier. 3 months meant the Kaleth were already dead. They just didn't know it yet. 40,000 souls on that colony. Families, children, scientists who had done nothing wrong except live too far from help. Talixian straightened his uniform. Send word to the fleet anyway. Maybe we can recover something and begin recording this for the historical archive. His voice was steady, but Hana saw his hands shake. She had never seen him give up before. She turned back to her console, blinking away tears. It wasn't fair. But space wasn't fair. She had learned that in her first week. The galaxy was beautiful and terrible, and sometimes you couldn't save everyone. That's when she saw it. A strange signal coming from Sector 7G. Her screen showed a frequency that shouldn't exist. It was too clean, too powerful. She pulled up the sector map and froze. Sir? Her voice came out small. I found something weird. Talixian didn't look up. Not now, Hana. But sir, there's a signal coming from Sector 7G. A strong one. That sector is empty. No, sir, it has one planet, Earth. It's marked as a quarantine zone. Now Talixian looked at her. A Class 12 death world. Nothing lives there that we can talk to. Their species barely invented the wheel when we last checked. Our last check was over 100 cycles ago, Hana said, pulling up the old files. And sir, they have been sending radio signals into space. Strong ones. Some of their messages claim they sent objects beyond their home system. Talixian laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. They reached their moon less than 200 cycles ago. They're still babies playing with fire. But what if they're not? Hana's fingers danced across her keyboard. Sir, this signal is strong. Really strong. Like military-grade communication strong. What if they advanced faster than we thought? Impossible. Evolution doesn't work that way. Then explain the signal. Talixian stared at her screen for a long moment. The room had gone quiet again. Everyone was listening. Finally, the ambassador sighed. Fine. Send them the distress call. When nothing happens, maybe you'll learn not to chase impossible hopes. Hana's hands moved before she could doubt herself. She typed the message in the standard galactic language, hoping the translation matrix would work. Galactic emergency. Species extinction imminent. Please assist if capable. She hit send and watched it disappear into space. There, Talixian said. Happy? Now we wait for silence and remember that Deathworlders don't, sir. Hana nearly fell from her chair. We have a response. What, already? That's impossible. The signal lag alone should be 17 minutes, Hana read from her screen. The message traveled 47 light-years in 17 minutes. The room erupted in noise. Scientists rushed to Hana's station. Everyone talked at once. Talixian pushed through the crowd and read the message himself. Copy that. Cavalry's coming. Hang tight. What's cavalry? Someone asked. The translation matrix blinked and produced an image. Ancient soldiers on four-legged animals charging into battle. Everyone stared at the picture, confused. Talixian cleared his throat. Perhaps it's a translation error. Send another message. Ask for their estimated time of arrival. Hana typed quickly. The response came back in 3 minutes, ETA 22 hours. We're not really supposed to do this, but rules are more like guidelines, right? Don't worry. We got you. 22 hours, a scientist repeated. To cross 47 light years. That's faster than light travel at speeds we can't even measure. Check the sensors, Talixian ordered. Find this ship. It took them 20 minutes to locate it. When they did, every physicist in the room began arguing at once. The ship was moving at speeds that should turn matter into pure energy. According to every law of physics they knew, the ship and everyone on it should be dead. Very, very dead. Spread across space as atoms, but the ship kept moving, and it was getting faster. This is impossible, the chief physicist said. They're breaking causality. They're moving faster than information can travel. This can't be real. Send another message, Talixian ordered. Ask them who they are. The response came back with a picture attached. A blue and green planet, white clouds swirling across its surface, and text that made Hana smile for the first time in hours. This is Captain Day of the cargo vessel Busan's Pride. Currently in violation of about 30 different safety codes, but who's counting? We heard you needed help. Earth doesn't leave people behind. See you soon. Talixian stared at the image of Earth. A beautiful world of blue oceans and green lands. A death world where everything wanted to kill you. Where gravity was too strong, the weather too violent, the radiation too high. A world that should never have produced intelligent life. And yet here they were, coming to save strangers at speeds that broke physics. Flying a ship that shouldn't exist. Offering help when they owed nothing, sir? Hana asked quietly. Did we just contact Deathworlders? Yes, Talixian said. He sat down heavily in his chair. Yes, we did. And they're coming. He pulled up a new screen and began typing. I need to file an incident report. What kind of incident? Every kind. He looked at the tracking data again. The human ship was still accelerating. Still breaking every law they had. Hana, I think we just changed the galaxy forever. Is that good or bad? Talixian watched the ship's impossible speed on his screen. I honestly don't know. But I have a feeling physics is about to have a very bad day. Outside, in the deep black of space, the Busan's Pride raced toward the Kaleth colony. Inside that ship, 5 humans prepared for the fight of their lives. They didn't know they were impossible. They didn't care about the rules they broke. They only knew that someone needed help. And they had the power to give it. The galaxy would never be the same. The Kaleth defense station shook as another swarm ship hit the shields. Captain Erlin watched the power levels drop another 3%. At this rate, they had maybe 5 days left. Maybe less if the swarm got creative, sir. His communications officer shouted. Something just appeared on sensors. More swarm ships? No, sir, I don't know what it is. Erlin pulled up the display and his breath caught. A ship had dropped out of faster-than-light speed right next to the station. Not a careful approach from a safe distance. Not a gradual slowdown. Just suddenly there, like someone had drawn it into existence with a pen. The ship itself made his eyes hurt to look at. Metal plates welded together at odd angles. Sections that clearly came from different ship types. What looked like civilian cargo containers strapped to military-grade engines. The whole thing was held together with seams that glowed hot orange. Are they on fire? Someone asked. I think that's just how they fly, another voice answered. A message came through on the standard channel. A human voice speaking through the translation system. This is Captain Day of the Busan's Pride. Sorry about the rough entrance. Our navigation computer is held together with duct tape and prayer. Erlin had no idea what duct tape or prayer meant, but he understood the general idea. This is Captain Erlin of the Kaleth Defense Station. You're the humans from Earth? That's us. We heard you had a bug problem. We're pretty good at pest control. The swarm is not a pest. It's a galaxy-ending threat. Yeah, but have you tried hitting it really hard? Erlin didn't know how to respond to that. Before he could think of something, his science officer gasped. Captain, their reactor readings are insane. They're running at 340% of safe levels. That's not possible. Tell them that, sir. Another message from the Busan's Pride. Hey, we'd like to dock and discuss the plan. Fair warning, though, our ship might violate some of your safety codes. Some? Erlin thought. He granted them permission anyway. What choice did he have? 20 minutes later, he met the humans in person. Captain Day was shorter than Erlen expected, but his handshake was firm. Too firm. Erlen felt his bones creak and tried not to show it. The other humans stood behind their captain, looking relaxed despite the battle raging outside. "This is my crew," Day said, pointing to each person. "Bin is our engineer. If it can explode, he'll make it explode better. Nari is our medic. She once did surgery while we were crashing through an asteroid field. Tay is our pilot. She's been banned from 3-star systems for creative flying. And Yuna handles communications and anything with computers. You're not military," Erlen observed. "Nope. We're a cargo ship. Well, we were before we borrowed the faster-than-light drive from a government lab. You stole it? Borrowed is a nicer word." Erlen's science team had already started scanning the human ship. Their leader, a physicist named Kalmir, rushed over looking disturbed. "Captain Erlen, we need to talk about the human vessel." "Is it dangerous?" "That depends on your definition of dangerous. Technically, it shouldn't exist. Their faster-than-light drive is cooled using something called coffee makers. Their hull has 17 patches made from a substance the engineer calls space-grade superglue, and their radiation levels would kill most species in about an hour." Erlen looked at the humans. They seemed fine. "How are you not dead?" Nari shrugged. "We evolved on Earth. Compared to home, this is nothing. Besides, radiation just makes you a little tired. Take some pills, drink water, you're fine." "A little tired? You're standing in radiation that should be melting your cells." "Should is different from does," Bin said cheerfully. He pulled out a handheld device covered in warning stickers. "Want to see our weapon system? Is it safe?" "Define safe." Erlen decided he didn't want to know. "Let's discuss the plan instead." They gathered around a tactical display. The swarm covered the screen like a dark cloud. Millions of bioships all connected to one hive mind. The central cluster glowed red in the middle, where the queens controlled everything. "So here's the idea," Day said, pointing at the queens. "We fly into the middle of that, cause some chaos, and give you time to evacuate everyone." "That's suicide." "Probably. But we've done stupider things." "Like what?" Day and Bin exchanged looks. "We agreed never to talk about Mars," Bin said quietly. Tay leaned forward, her eyes bright. "We have something called Project Thunder. It's a weapon so unstable that the United Nations banned it during testing." "Why would you bring a banned weapon?" "Because banned and effective are not opposites," Yuna added. Kalmir had been studying the data on his tablet. He looked up, face pale. "Did you weaponize a black hole?" "Not weaponized," Bin corrected. "More like controlled, usually, most of the time." "Most of the time?" "Look, it either works or we all die instantly. Either way, we won't suffer long." Erlen felt his world tilting. These humans were insane. They had to be. No sane species would fly a dying ship into an extinction-level threat with a weapon that might kill everyone. And yet they were smiling. "Actually smiling. Why are you doing this?" Erlen asked. "You don't know us. We've never met your species before. Why risk your lives?" Day's smile faded a bit. He looked at his crew, then back at Erlen. "Because someone asked for help. And because we can. My grandmother used to say that with power comes responsibility. We have this ship, we have this weapon, and we have each other. That means we have to try. Even if it kills you, everyone dies eventually. Might as well die doing something that matters." The station shook again. Harder this time. The lights flickered. "They're adapting," Erlen's tactical officer reported. "The swarm is changing its attack pattern. They're focusing fire on the shield generators." "How long?" 4 hours. Maybe less." Day stood up. "Then we better get moving. Tay, prep the ship. Bin, arm Project Thunder. Nari, make sure the medical supplies are secured. Yuna, I need you to hack into the station systems and coordinate the evacuation." "Hack into my systems?" Erlen protested. "Do you want everyone saved or not?" Erlen sighed. "Do what you need to do." The humans moved with practiced efficiency. Erlen watched Yuna's fingers fly across her keyboard faster than should be possible. Within 6 minutes, she had overridden protocols that should have taken days to crack. "How did you do that?" Kalmir asked. "Korean internet cafes," Yuna said, not looking up. "We don't mess around with slow speeds." Outside, the swarm pressed closer. The shields glowed bright under the assault. In 4 hours, they would fail. 40,000 Kaleth would die. The swarm would continue to the next system, and the next, and the next, unless 5 crazy humans in a broken ship could stop them. Day stood at the airlock, ready to return to his ship. He looked back at Erlin. Get your people ready to evacuate. We'll buy you the time you need. What if you can't? Day grinned. Then we'll die trying, and you better tell some really good stories about us. The humans walked back to their impossible ship. Erlin watched them go, feeling something he hadn't felt in days. Hope. It was probably false hope. They would probably all die. But at least they would die fighting. As the Busan's Pride undocked, Erlin noticed Calamir typing frantically on his tablet. What are you doing? Filing a physics violation report, the scientist said. The galaxy needs to know what these humans are doing. They're breaking every law we have. Will anyone listen? Probably not. But when this is over, assuming we survive, someone needs to have documented the day physics learned to be afraid. The human ship accelerated toward the swarm, engines burning bright against the dark. Inside, 5 humans prepared to do the impossible. Outside, 40,000 Kaleth hoped they could.